On Business Live this evening, telecom analyst justifies government's decision to acquire 49% shares of Airtel. We have the details. Also, World Bank Board approves $250 million to support establishment of Development Bank of Ghana. We will tell you what we know. Plus, profit margins of some banks fell in the third quarter of this year due to the impact of COVID-19 on their operations. I'm Israel I, and we have the details on Business Live coming up in a bit. Stay tuned in. Some minority MPs are demanding a reversal of government's resolve to acquire Airtel Tigo, insisting the decision is not in the interest of Ghana. Kumbungu MP Ras Mubarak, who serves on the Communications Committee of Parliament, says government has no business acquiring a company that's making losses and has liabilities of almost 1 billion Ghana cedis. He says there are better alternatives to protecting jobs than government taking over the company, adding the government should not be taking such a major decision only a few days to the next election.
Government has showed gross disrespect to the Ghanaian public. I am disappointed that Ghanaians had to hear this first from India by virtue of the fact that Airtel is listed on the Indian Stock Exchange, and by Indian law they are enjoined, they are required to make such things public. So the news broke out in India and it filtered through into Ghana. A couple of days after news broke out, government has still not, respected Ghanaians enough to tell us what it wants to do on behalf of the Ghanaian public. And I think that is completely unacceptable. And I think that we should demand nothing short of a full disclosure on details of the deal. Because you are acquiring a company that is not doing well, a company that is on its knees on behalf of the people. And in doing so, the people have a right. And you as government have a duty to let the people know what the details are. But let's get into some very specific issues. We all know that the marriage between Airtel and Tigo wasn't really going well, for which reason both parties, Airtel was very unhappy, Tigo was very, very unhappy. Now government going in to acquire 100% shares means that government becomes a referee through the National Communications Authority and a player, and that brings about unfairness in the field, because there are other private sector organizations who are doing business. If government is to be the referee at the same time the player, they may end up nudging other companies out of business, and that could result in job losses, that could result in collapse of businesses. Now you also have, that's exactly why they say they are I'll get to that. You also have a situation where government at the time they sold of Ghana Telecom indicated to the good people of Ghana that government had no business being in the telecoms industry. If government has money to buy the liabilities, to buy Airtel and also to take care of the liabilities of Airtel Tigo, one would expect that they would first deal with the situation at hand, which is to fulfill its contractual obligations with Vodafone, inject some capital so that Vodafone can expand and grow, and by expanding and growing they can employ more Ghanaians. They haven't been able to do that.
Well, a telecom analyst has justified the decision by government to acquire the 49% shares of Airtel from Airtel Tigo following the announcement by the company to exit the market. Country Director of CATS Ghana, Apia Kusi Adumako, says government considered the economic implications vis-a-vis jobs over the profitability of the business. Speaking earlier on the marketplace, he said it is in the interest of government not to allow distressed companies to go down at this crucial time.
Business or any firm would want to come and rescue a firm with huge liabilities on its book. And of course, that's thought to the government. And government also has a public policy policy rationale for coming in to save the company, to acquire the company. One, already we know that the telecom market is gradually tipping to the side of MTN. And should we allow LTT to go down the drain, what it means is that most subscribers will go to will flip to Vodafone and LTT. And currently their network will not be able to take the load of the new subscribers that will move from LTT to Vodafone or MTN. So the best thing that government needs to do is to ensure that we don't run the risk of having a network overload in the short term. And number two, the government also has a national security, and sometimes government has to put public policy rationale beyond business decisions. And I think public policy rationale might probably inform government decision in acquiring the company than business decisions. Yes, I mean, the fundamental issue from economics is that government has no business in doing business. However, we also know that whenever there's a market failure, government has to step in. I mean, the US, for example, in 2008, when the financial crisis came, the federal government bailed out the businesses, and these businesses were wholly owned by the private sector. And if government had withdrawn their support, most of these companies would have collapsed, and its effect on the economy would have been very, very catastrophic.
The World Bank Board of Executive Directors has approved $250 million from the International Development Association to support the establishment of the Development Bank of Ghana, DBG, to increase access to long-term finance and boost job creation for 10,000 enterprises in key sectors, including agribusinesses, manufacturing, and high-value services. DBG will finance multiple interventions to attract private sector financing for credit-constrained SMMEs and small companies based in Ghana. Profit margins of some banks fell in the third quarter of this year due to the impact of COVID-19 on their operations. Consolidated Bank and CAL witnessed some dip in their earnings, though Societe Generale recorded a marginal profit increase. Charles Nixon Yeboah has been analyzing the unaudited financial statements of these banks and has more.
Consolidated Bank Ghana and CAL Bank witnessed some drop in their income as earnings fell by 68% and 3% respectively in the first 9 months of this year. There were mixed performances from the various income lines as Consolidated Bank grew its fees and commissions, but witnessed a decline in its trading income, indicating very little activities with regard to export financing and foreign transfers during the period. CAL Bank also registered a drop in fees and commissions because of the low activities in loans and advances during the period, but its trading income more than doubled. Both banks boasted of a strong balance sheet, that is assets and liabilities, with Consolidated Bank registering a 7.9 billion cedis worth of customers' deposits. On the other hand, Societe Generale registered a 13.4% growth in income to the tune of 93 million cedis for the first 9 months. The growth in earnings was due to a reduction in loan losses and growth in interest income as well as trading income, but its cost-to-income ratio, a measure of cost in relation to income, was relatively high. For the stability of the three banks, all the financial soundness indicators were pointing to the right direction as non-performing loans were low, far below industry average of about 14%. They were highly liquid and robust as customers can easily redeem their savings and investments.
The Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is urging government to introduce a tiered tax system for small and medium-sized enterprises. According to the Chamber, these enterprises are being overburdened by an unfair policy environment, a situation that hinders their growth. The Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu-Abuaje, spoke with Joy Business at a stakeholder workshop organized by his outfit. There's more in this report.
The Chamber has come up with 9 indices, which variation will determine whether or not policies, initiatives and programs that have been churned out by the government are helping businesses. In an interview with Joy Business, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu-Abuaje, said The tiered system of taxing is one of many recommendations he believes would help small and medium-sized enterprises reinvest their profits.
Now, corporate tax is 25% across board. Bigger companies are paying 25%, smaller companies are also paying 25%. So we are making a recommendation that there should be a tier system of taxing. So at least the bigger companies will pay something corresponding to their size, and the smaller companies will also pay something smaller. The main reason is that when you pay a smaller tax, your bottom line, your net profit is quite bigger, so that you'll be able to reinvest. The SMEs, they are not able to get funding, difficult to get funding, they don't have the collateral. So the only way for them to get funding is to reinvest their profit. So with a lower tax, with a lower interest rate, they will get a higher net profit that they can reinvest. So the tier system is one of the recommendations that we'll be making to government.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Robert Ahomka-Lindsay, said his outfit will continue to create an enabling environment for local businesses to thrive.
An economy cannot thrive without a healthy and resilient private sector. When private sector flourishes, it boosts job creation and generates wealth that can be spent and reinvested locally. As a government that cares about the socio-economic well-being of its citizens, we are actively engaged in supporting the private sector through creating an enabling environment for trade and investment. The Ministry of Trade is aggressively pursuing programs and policies to improve competitive edge of the local industries.
The Business Diagnostics Data Mobilization received support from Buzak Fund.
In a related development, Ghanaian social innovator and writer Bright Simmons is urging government to desist from providing small businesses with stimulus packages to focusing on funding specific projects of these businesses. Mr. Simmons believes this will ensure the resilience of these businesses post the pandemic era. He spoke with Joy Business at this year's edition of the Ghana Business Summit on the theme, The Impact of COVID-19 on Business Sustainability, a review of big businesses and startups.
Government in the last quarter under review, the quarter that the second quarter, the government was spending more than twice what it was raising in taxes and other revenues. So what has been obvious is this extraordinary capacity to spend. The question we are asking is, are they spending on things that structurally changes the fundamentals such that they don't have to continue to assume that they can borrow and spend going forward? So if, for instance, you decide to give a lot of money to SMEs, what is the business intelligence and the data that is driving the selection of particular SMEs because they are connected to the relief? If it's just giving money out for giving money out sake, a lot of people will take the money and go and pay debt. You have to have business intelligence through the industry associations, through the associations on the ground, through the supplier systems and networks that we've developed in this country, that enables you to target the relief, not to general cash injections, but to fund specific projects that these businesses are engaged in. So I was surprised when all the packages that were designed were purely cash transfers. So we're just giving you 3,000 go, you 5,000 go. That's not how you do these kind of things. You have to figure out what kind of investments these particular companies can make to make them durable and fund those investments. So if, for instance, it's machinery that particular companies need to increase their scale, provide grants that sort out this machinery. There are suppliers in this country. You can say, look, here's a supplier database. If you want machinery from this up to this amount, we will subsidize. But you just distribute cash in a crisis time when everybody is short of cash. How many of people are going to put that back in the business? So I don't think that when we come up with these policies and these programs, there is sufficient reflection of all the pieces.
Business incubators and accelerator programs are gaining attention as potential drivers of entrepreneurship in Africa, the world, and Ghana in particular. First Code Management Services has therefore organized a workshop for business incubator managers in Ghana to support and create partnership for funding and investment. More in this report.
The objective of the workshop is to strengthen the entrepreneurial management and support activities of business incubators and accelerator programs in Ghana. Ken Kojosafo is managing partner of First Code Management Services.
Yes, I think we're making pretty good progress. The resource persons we've had from the various institutions, especially from public stakeholder institutions. So First Code Management Services is actually not an association or a group of companies. It's basically a private sector company that provides professional support services to startups, SMEs, and companies of all likes. And so our doors are open for incubators, for innovation hubs, accelerators, and any other business that thinks that they need our support services. What we try to do is that we get people to focus on their core businesses, and then we help them with their support services. Support services by way of corporate secretarial services, regulatory compliance services, accounting services, and then research-related activities. So together, they will achieve a common cause, and the government support to go a long way to also impact their activities.
Meanwhile, Director of National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Franklin Owusu-Kakari, said supporting startups was very necessary and that his outfit has given some funding to some incubation hub.
Well, supporting startups is not just all about money. It involves a lot of multifaceted approach to be able to support all-round startups who will be able to stand the test of time without failing. So there was a need for us to provide them with technical support for the startups, for training, for a number of other logistical support. And in order to do this, we partner with the various incubation hubs in Ghana to deliver a tailor-made capacity building program for these startups to grow. And over the years, that is gradually curbing the rate at which startups fail, because now you have somebody to handhold you, guide you through the process, where you have challenges, where you have the pitfalls, somebody to hold your hand to be able to go through the system. And that has been done within the last 3 years. And we came to meet a few hubs that were working in Ghana. Today, we can talk about close to 85 incubation hubs, all working across the 16 regions in Ghana to support startups in Ghana. And we are giving them, apart from giving funding to the startups, we're also giving some form of technical support and also some funding to the incubation hubs to support these startups to grow.
Also, Senior Manager of Advisory at Exim Bank, Frank Obin, said the bank was available to give advisory and financial support to SMEs. He highlights some measures put in place to help SMEs.
Ghana Export-Import Bank will provide capital, that is loans to businesses, both large corporations and then SMEs. Okay, so we have an SME department that is dedicated to providing the necessary support in terms of financial support to SMEs. We also have an advisory department that backstops what the SME department has. So we provide advisory services in terms of how to manage your business. If you want an advice on how to do your business plan and some of the regulations that you need to abide by in running your business. So we have these two complementary services at the bank to help grow SMEs within the country. Although we are an export-oriented institution, we believe that we need to groom the SMEs from domestic before they can become export-oriented. So that when it comes to the advisory services, it cuts across. Even the SME, we still have a lot of companies that we are supporting and grooming them that they'll be able to export. In fact, the executive management of the bank, led by the chief executive, Mr. Lawrence Ajensam, instead what we call the Tuesday market. And the brain behind that was that he wanted to expose these businesses to the general public. There are a lot of people doing fantastic products in Ghana, but no market because we don't know them. So every month, on the first Tuesday, the last Tuesday of every month, we organize what we call Tuesday market, and then some of these SME come to exhibit their product. People buy, get acquainted, and then they follow up with them. So these are some of the activities that the bank is undertaking to help promote small-scale businesses within the country.
VGMA Gospel Artist of the Year, Dinah Hamilton, says contrary to the popular assertion that COVID has dealt a great blow to the music industry, she rather leveraged technology to make significant gains. According to her, she signed off more deals amid the pandemic as compared with previous years. Here's our maiden edition of Celebrity Business with host Odilia Ntiamwa. And on that musical note, we bring an end to Business Live. I'm Mr. Lai. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, JoyNews Prime comes up in about an hour and a half. Do stay tuned.